All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the Cool Indie Things meeting, I guess. So first couple announcements. We have our pathfinding workshop next week, and we will be doing that over the tile mapping stuff. So it's going to work with the tile map, and then we'll have basically the pizza guide just kind of navigate through the map. Again, if you want to show something off, let me know. You can do that. It's like, I don't really care. You can just come up and show your stuff off. That's what we're here for. And then if you haven't paid your dues already, or yet, and you want to, you probably should. The prices are listed there again. $10 for dues, $15 for a shirt, or $20 bundle. So next, I have a thing I want to show. So in the research part of campus, there's this company called Isoform, and what they do is they're an interactive studio, and they make like interactive software using Unity for like medical stuff. So whether it's like an iPad game or something like more serious, and they reached out to me and was just wondering if you guys would be interested in it. So I'm going to show off a couple of the videos they sent. It's kind of cool. They're looking for interns, I believe, this summer. And they also said that if there's enough interest, we could schedule a tour at their facilities, which I think would be cool. So if we could get like a dozen people or whatever, we could set that up sometime. And I think that would be pretty awesome. Okay. Here's something. It must be an online game. They have some like Lego brick builder. Yeah, none. I did not read the instructions. I just started playing. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, this one. Wow. I'm so great at this.
Bro.
Dude, literally, oh my gosh, dude, I'm such a pro gamer. Okay, wait.
Wow, this looks so different.
I don't know if I'm gonna get this one. Oh no, it's different at the top. Okay, but oh, this one's different. So anyways, the whole point of what the software does is it's supposed to like kind of teach you about this stuff, kind of making it fun too. So that's why there's like the game aspect of it. So I think it would be kind of like good insight to have, because it's not necessarily like a game studio, but it's, I mean, they still are making games and it's using the same software, so it's pretty cool. I don't know, they might be on SciHire. I'll email them back, and I'll get back to you guys on that. I'll put an announcement just in the announcements channel, and I'll get back to you guys on that. All right, so next thing up is the cool part of the meeting. So cool indie things. Just kind of bear with me. I just threw some stuff together, and I'm just going to talk about cool indie things. So if you don't already know what an indie developer is, I'm just going to reiterate. The official definition of something that is indie is a studio or producer that is unaffiliated with a commercial organization. So in human terms, that means somebody that's like kind of on their own, or maybe they just started like a small team of people that are making a game. Sometimes indie developers kind of push that and they have like 50 employees. I mean, it's like, but I guess they're still technically indie. But the hard part that a lot of indie developers have is like, how do they stick out compared to a AAA game? Because it's like you don't have the manpower or the time to be able to compete with a game that's like massive, like GTA 5. Like one guy would take his entire lifetime to make all the assets and the code for that. So what I'm going to be going over is just kind of like talking about a few examples that really set a lot of indie games apart from, make them stick out, because a lot of this stuff is super easy to implement. Like I know a few of the things Unity already has something in place so you can just push a button practically. Well, not figuratively speaking, but it's just kind of like things that you could add, maybe like even in a game jam game, that just make it look professional, and it really makes a difference. So the first thing is color theory. So a lot of older games, especially on the NES and stuff, they were very limited hardware-wise. So I know the NES could only have like 16 colors on the screen at one time. So they really had to stick to a color palette, which is like a set of colors that you use for the game. And I mean, at the time it was because they had to, but now it's like it's just kind of good practice because it makes the game kind of feel more like a game. I mean, it's not required if you're doing something more realistic, but if you're doing like small pixel art, like a Mario type game, usually a lot of people do that just to like have it so it has its own feel. It makes it unique. I think, yeah, because I didn't put it on here, but I think Shovel Knight also did that. Yeah, it had a color palette because they were trying to emulate like an NES game. I don't know if anybody's ever played it. I've only seen gameplay. Yeah, it's on my list. I'm really busy right now, but it's because it's cool because I watched some of the gameplay and it's like, you know, if you go to the next part of the screen, it moves up like the NES and then the things appear and it's pretty awesome. But that's one of the games that would fall in this category. So the next thing in regards to art would be hand-drawn art. Cuphead is probably the best example for this because everything in the game is hand-drawn, which it looks really awesome, but at the same time, it's like impossible for like one guy to do all this. I mean, I guess you could. It would just take forever. So yeah, it's really awesome. It looks nice. It's not very practical unless you have like a team or a very long time to work on it. But if you can get it to work, and especially if it's in your own like style of drawing, it looks really nice. So the next thing is orthographic cameras. So this example is Fez. I don't know if anybody's ever played it. I know it was somewhat popular. Again, I haven't played this one either. But so basically, orthographic cameras, so if you don't know the difference between perspective and orthographic, perspective cameras make it so like it's what you can see basically, so like there's depth to it. You can tell how far away something is. Like, you know, if I was looking at Sasha, right now I can tell how far away Sasha is roughly. But if I had an orthographic camera, it would literally look like Sasha is like in my face, even though Sasha is way down there. Uh-oh. Hey. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much the difference. So what Fez did is they, I don't know if any game did this beforehand too much. I'm sure somebody probably did. But they used a orthographic camera on a 3D world. So they made the game look 2D, but you're able to rotate the perspective of the camera to give you a different feel. And that's like one of the core mechanics of the game, is that you play as 2D, and then you can flip the world, and then you have a different perspective. Yeah.
Is that similar to Paper Mario?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Paper Mario. I think Paper Mario still had perspective in it, though. But it's kind of like similar in that regard, where you can like change perspectives, and it would, because Paper Mario, right? You could change, or at least on the one on the Wii that I played, it's like it's 2D, but then you can change it, and then it goes to 3D. Or flip or whatever. Yeah. At least on the Wii one, I forgot the name of it. Yeah, Super Paper Mario. Yeah. But that's the only one I've played. But yeah, orthographic cameras. It's just something to kind of think about because you have a bunch of different resources that you can use. So the next thing would be faking 3D. So this kind of really comes down to what game engine are you using. Because if you use a game engine like Unity or Unreal that has 3D stuff built into it, you don't really need to fake it being 3D unless you, I don't know, feel like it. So this is good for limited game engines or game engines that just flat out don't really have any 3D support. So like Godot, well, I think that might have 3D, but Game Maker definitely doesn't have 3D. So you kind of have to do different things to like give it that feel of depth, even though there's not really any. So like in this GIF of Hollow Knight, for example, ignore the gameplay, but like in the background, you can see the background with the rocks or whatever they are, and they're not moving the same as the foreground is. Like they're moving slightly slower in the background, so it kind of gives you that feel that they're farther away, because typically, you know, if you're driving by a mountain, it's not going to move as fast as like a light pole that you're driving by. So that is also known as parallax scrolling. Websites also use it too. If you ever see those like those ads where like you scroll and it like, I don't know, like they have a different scrolling speed inside the ad. I don't know. You'll know what I mean if you come across it. Well, that's just another thing that you can do if you have like Game Maker or something. It's actually quite commonly used, and it makes the game look really nice. So the next thing is sprite stacking. This also falls under faking 3D. So this is more like you take a bunch of sprites and you can put them very closely next to each other on the Y level, and then by changing like the offset of them, you can basically kind of make stuff look 3D. Like in this example, it's pixelated. So there's really, I think there's like two sprites, or two like stacks of sprites in this one. I think the flowers are all on the same one, and then the character is probably on their own. But you can see them kind of like move it around, and based on how you like angle the sprite, how you transform it, that can change the perspective. So I have one example. This is why I was playing the Hopscotch games before this started. Let me pull it up. So I did not make this one, but somebody else did on Hopscotch. So Hopscotch is a drag and drop coding thing for kids, and it's kind of like Scratch, but it's meant for like iPads and stuff. So somebody made this one a while ago, and it's called Minecraft Sneak Up. And you try to find Steve, basically. But because the engine has no 3D mechanics in it at all, they just use some sprites, basically. In this case, they just use text, but it looks like images, right? And by rotating it, it looks like you're turning. I mean, it looks kind of 3D, even though this is all 2D. I'm not going to find Steve. But, yeah, due to how the game engine works, there's those stripes in between, which normally that wouldn't happen if you use like GameMaker or something, because it's higher quality. But that just kind of gives you an idea. And yes, it can be slow in large quantities, so this isn't. You kind of have to choose your way. That's why I said like those flowers are probably all one sprite. With transparency in the middle, because if you did every single one of those, I'm sure it would probably be fine. But if you have like a whole field of flowers that are all sprite stacked, it's really going to slow down, because that's like 10 objects with a sprite for every flower. Whereas if you just use one and kind of space them out in just a giant sprite, it would accomplish the same thing, but also be a little faster on the engine. Oh yeah, I wanted to show this too. Wait. So I found this one on Reddit, just a video that I thought was cool. It kind of explains it, just visuals. So so you have a bunch of different sprites, and then when you layer them on top of each other, it'll kind of show it. So in this case, they have like a burger. You move them, and then here it talks about improving it, which would be like changing the scaling of it and making it look like at a different perspective. In that case, it doesn't look good, but normally you wouldn't do that. It's mostly for that like top-down 3D, kind of like Pokemon, like the old ones or something. Okay. So the next thing, so instead of faking 3D, this is now 2.5D. So Billboarding Sprites, you might have seen this before. It's basically when you're too lazy to make models. So you can use a sprite inside of a 3D world, and basically you billboard it, which means that you tell it so it always faces the camera, or like the rotation of the sprite is based on the camera somehow. So one game that uses this quite well is Octopath Traveler, and all the characters and everything are 2D, whereas like the entire map, the whole world that you interact with, it's 3D in the sense that you can go back and forth, up and down. Yeah, if you ever want to make a 3D game and you don't have time, or you don't have like the ability to make models, this could be a good way to like kind of get past that, as long as you can make it look good and fit the like theme or style that you're going for. So the next thing is pixel perfect, and again, kind of down the art path. So there's kind of two different versions of pixel art. They're both technically pixel art, but one, like in Celeste, so this is a great example of it. So every pixel, it's like, it would like basically be what an NES would be. So yeah, like Shovel Knight, like I talked about earlier, would probably would fit down this too. So everything that's going on is part of a pixel on the screen. So like even though this chain is moving up and down, it's still like a pixel. It doesn't cross pixels. It's just scaled up so it looks pixelated with modern televisions and stuff and screens. Whereas Minecraft, on the other hand, it is pixel art, but it's not like, it's not true pixel art or pixel perfect, because it's like scaled, and it covers each pixel is across like, I don't know. Do you understand what I mean? I'm trying to explain it. But yeah, it's not like each pixel isn't a square. So in this case, it's rendered on like a flat plane, and it's still pixel art, but it's not pixel perfect. So in that regard to being pixel perfect, you also have downscaling. So downscaling means that you have 3D models, or whatever you want, 3D world, and you take the camera resolution and you just shrink it. So in this case, Dead Cells is a good example of this. So they didn't actually make any of the animations for the characters and stuff. What they did is they took models that had just basic colors on them, and then they would animate the models, and then instead of making the pixel art for them, they would just have them move in the world, and then the camera resolution would be so far down that it would look pixelated. And it ends up actually looking pretty good, because you can't really have any detail this way. Like the character is not going to be able to have like a face or anything, or at least a distinguishable one, because of the computer and how it scales things down. But if you're going for a more like basic character style, kind of like this, it looks really good for it. The map, on the other hand, though, actually is pixel art. That's not downscaled, so they kind of like mixed it together, and it ends up working out pretty good. So along that line, you also have procedural animations. So downscaling is a form of procedural animations, where you take a model and you downscale it. You also have coded animations, so you can basically like handwrite the animations. I don't really know of a too good example, but I know that that Rain World has a lot of procedural animations, because if you made every frame for that, there'd be no way. Like it would take you forever because of all the like dynamicness of the character moving around, and the same with the enemies and stuff. And again, you can't really have like too much detail with this, but there's just enough detail that you can tell what's going on, and it looks really clean as well. So shrinking the camera and downscaling is like, it looks really nice if you can get it to work. So along the lines of procedural, we also have procedural generation, which was really popular. Still is. So I didn't want to use Minecraft because I already use Minecraft. So I put Valheim on there. Basically, every world is randomly generated, procedurally generated. So it's you can use a seed and it'll generate the same thing, but if you use a different seed, it generates something random. So this is used a lot for games that don't necessarily have a map. I don't know. It's like more like survival games and stuff, or sometimes even roguelike games. Depends on what you want. So in this case, it kind of makes it easy, so you don't have to design a giant map by yourself. You can just tell the computer to do it basically, and it'll create it as you go. And this also allows for unlimited replayability because every time you make a new world, it's different. And it can provide a different experience for the player. Because I know games like Valheim and Minecraft, like people play it forever because it's like every world's different. As long as you keep updating it as well. I know Valheim kind of fell off the face of the earth because they stopped updating. But so next up we got shaders. So shaders are honestly not that hard to implement. You can watch a few YouTube videos and it's like pretty easy to follow along, or at least in my opinion, as long as you're not doing something like painfully difficult. But yeah, there's lots of tutorials online and they're relatively easy to add. So if you don't already know what shaders are, shaders use the graphics card to take what is in the 3D world that's going to be on the screen, and then they modify it so it like looks different, like right before it renders to the screen. So I have a few examples in the next couple of slides or whatever. But sometimes you can do anything from like changing the shape of everything. So say that you wanted to have like an effect, like it looks like you're like drunk or something and the screen's swaying. A shader would be probably the easiest way to do that, if not the only way. Just because you can move the pixels around on the screen and make the world seem like it's bobbling, even though like in the actual game itself, like nothing's happening. It's just what's rendered to the screen. So one type of shader is a fragment shader. So this one changes the colors in the visuals. It doesn't change the positions of the mesh or anything that's rendered. So like the return of Obra Dinn, I think that's how you say that. So that's like a really good example because like it's all pixelated, but that's not pixel art. That's just a shader. And what they ended up doing, I think, was it just like rounds the values and then puts it down to black and white. So honestly, that's probably like one of the best black and white games if you were to ever play one for some reason. Because it's just really cool to see how they use that shader and like kind of made the game work around it, so it looks really nice. You can also do other things with that, with fragment shaders. Like one thing that I'm trying to work on right now is that, say you have like an animation of a character, instead of redrawing it for every time you want to have like a different skin tone or a different hair color, what you could do is you make a shader, and the shader will go through each pixel, and you tell it like if it's this color, then you can have it change to a different color based on the input. So it'd be like if you're animating something, instead of just copying and pasting all the sprites, sometimes it's easier just to use a shader to kind of like cheese your way of like reusing them without actually redrawing all the sprites. So vertex shaders are the other main type of shader. So this one, instead of changing the actual colors, you change the positions of stuff. So I put eco on here because like if you were to put this game in a game engine like Unity or something, and you look at the scene view, the entire world would be flat. Everything, like gravity goes straight down in every location. The world is flat. That's it. It just loads as you move around. But if you use a vertex shader, you can curve things, or in other cases, you can also do other things to stuff. I'll try to think of something. But like in this case, you just make the world like seem like it's curved, even though it's not, which makes a lot of things easier, like gravity physics, because having to code it like your own gravity system so it all goes towards this one point is probably going to be a lot harder. Whereas if you just write a shader in like 5 minutes and you accomplish the same goal, it's like you might as well just do that. But you could also have some other shaders, like say you have like a character or something, and you want to make them like blow up, like inflate and then blow up. You'd probably just use a shader, at least for the inflating part, because you can just have the vertices like move out from the origin, and then once it reaches a point, then they just like, then you would change it to an explosion or something. But they have a bunch of different things you can do with it. Anything that is like, I don't know, dynamically moving or changing shape, it'd be good to use a shader with that. So if you ever are wondering if you should like make something directly different or compared to a shader is something that is like constantly changing. Whereas like if you want to make an actual mesh like wavy, that would mean it's like consistently always that way. Whereas the shader is like something like this one. The worlds wouldn't always be curved the same way. It's like curved based on where you're standing. So the shader is better for real-time stuff. The next one is dithering. So there's kind of like two different things of dithering, which the other one I didn't include for some reason. So one thing is in like the art sense, where like you basically have two colors, and then dithering would be like blending them together in the middle, I think. Whereas a dithering shader is more like, kind of think like the Mario games. I couldn't find an example of this, but like you have the character, and then like he walks or behind something. Dithering would be like the something in the middle just like disappears so you can see your character. What? Yeah, like Mario Odyssey. Yeah, I was thinking like Mario Galaxy, but it's like they've used the same mechanics. So like in this case, not really a great example, but you can kind of see how the grass like disappears when you get close to it. That was kind of what I was going for. That's a joke. That's literally some random thing I found on some blog. So next one is adaptive sounds and music. So I think Terraria, the T game. So this one is, yeah, it's like a great example for this because like when you move around the world, if you go from the overworld to the underworld or like even a different biome or something, the music changes in the background, right? So having that like adaptive sounds and the adaptive music, like without even thinking about it, like it just makes the game like more fun, I guess. I don't know. But it's usually, it depends on your situation. Sometimes this is harder to implement, but if you can, it's like, it's really awesome to have that like change both visually and audibly. But yeah, like other things too, like boss fights. Typically games have a lot of that too. But also like changing areas is really awesome. Or like when an event happens, like if you get low on health, it starts playing like a sound or a music melody or something. Or in some cases, even something like breaking different blocks. Like in Terraria, they each have their own different sounds. And it's not really something you think about when you play the game. You know, you kind of expect it, but it really makes a big difference. Huh? Yeah, I agree. Whoever makes music. I'm kidding. We love you, Sasha. Okay. So next big thing is replayability. This is important if you're making pretty much every game, to be honest. Even bigger games, because like if you get somebody to keep playing something over and over, typically they'll either recommend it to somebody, or maybe you have like in-app purchases or something. So, and sometimes this is really related to like lower quality games that you just play like over and over. I mean, there is a lot of also quality games that you can play over and over too. But basically, the game doesn't get old. And typically, when it comes to replayability, you got to have a lot of like constantly update it, because if you just stop updating a game, at least nowadays, people will they won't play it anymore, or at least they'll take like a extended break from it. So that's why I kind of put mobile games on here, because it's like those games are like their main focus is getting you to open the app back up and keep playing it. Because if you don't, like, then they won't make any money, or at least like in some way. But then it also comes down to other games that are like Counter-Strike. I just looked this up. I can't imagine somebody ever putting in almost 2,000 hours, probably more by now, into Counter-Strike. It's just not me. I know you're laughing because you probably have put that into some other game. But yeah, sometimes it's just a good thing to think about, because you don't want to have a boring game where you just play through it once and then you're like, oh, there's nothing else to do. A good example actually of this would be Borderlands. I don't know if they all do this, but at least the second one, because I played that one. Like, after you beat the game once, you can go back and then it changes a bunch of the stuff in the game. And then, like, there's that replayability right there. Like, it makes it fun to keep playing. Comedy. So you can go ahead and read that quote if you want to. But comedy's another way to, like, kind of draw people in. Sometimes if you don't want to make put too much effort into a game, like if you make a game a meme, it just has that chance of doing really good. So like Muck, for example, I don't know if anybody ever played that when it was like super popular for like a week. Yeah, that was basically just a meme, and it did really well for that reason. Don't Shit Your Pants is also a great game. That was really popular, I don't know, when I was in like middle school, but because I think Markiplier played it, and then everyone loved it. It's just like a stupid, funny game, and it's like one of those things that you just like, you have to play it once, because it's like, you'll just laugh, and it's fun. No, you're good. But I was just thinking, like comedy, like, I don't know, sometimes just cheesy stuff. And you don't have to make your game totally focused around this too. Sometimes, or yeah, like I said, Mock earlier, that game in of itself wasn't really a meme. I mean, the way the guy promoted it made it a meme. But also he had like stupid things in it. Like one of the ores was called Obamium, which I just think is hilarious for some reason. But
all the mushrooms were.
Yeah, all the mushrooms, yeah, were sus memes. Like the Sugondese mushroom. Okay, this one might be somewhat obvious. So, or maybe not. I don't know. But sometimes it pays to be unique and daring. So, like high risk, high reward, or high risk, high fall, however you want to look at it. Sometimes if you try something new that pops in your head, it might be popular. It might be people are like, oh, that's cool, and then leave you at that. Or it might be like, okay, bro, that literally sucks. Don't ever do it. But I don't know. I put Undertale up here because I don't know if there's anything really like the gameplay of it that came out beforehand. I just know that when it came out, it was like super popular because of how unique it was, and also the soundtrack was just awesome, I guess. But yeah, so sometimes the gameplay, like, it's just different. Sometimes you just got to put it all out there and hope for the best. But don't be like the bullet ball guy. If you know what I'm talking about, that's good. Don't put everything on the line for something that you don't know if it's going to work. The bullet ball guy. I'll show that video after the meeting. It's a very, or maybe I will. I don't know. It's a long video actually. I'll put it in the Discord. But basically, long story short, this guy had this game that he made called Bullet Ball, and it was like a tabletop game, and he thought it was super awesome, and so he put his entire life on the line, like all of his money, his house mortgage, he remortgaged his house, he like put all of his like college, or his college funds for his kids into this, and his wife left him, and it failed, and so that he ended up on the streets. It was really bad.
Hey, bullet ball, right?
Yeah. Don't be like that guy. Learn from your mistakes. So, recap. So yeah, there's a lot of small things you can do. I'll post these slides again if people want to like kind of look through them again. But I don't know. Sometimes there's small things that you gotta look for that can really make a difference. Because if you just throw together a game, like sometimes you'll play it, or maybe not even, someone else will play it and they'll be like, okay, this is a game, but it doesn't feel like a game. Because like a pixel art game, yeah, it's pixel art, but sometimes like if you make it pixel perfect, then it's like, you know, it just has a different feel to it, and it feels more professional. So yeah, don't be afraid to try new things. If you are, just do it anyways. And then yeah, all the little things add up. So whether it's you put a shader with something else, all the different things combined, or at least the ones that are necessary. If you put too much into it, then it does not add up. Then you're going backwards. But yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do that normally you wouldn't think about. And it might be good for the game jam. Wink, 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 wink. Okay, so
It is the game.
yeah, whatever. Yeah, it is the game jam. Yes, so the game jam is November 12th to 14th. So that's in what, 3 weeks or something? 2 weeks? 2 weeks? Yes, 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks, and then the following weekend. So we have the pathfinding workshop next week, and then we have the game jam prep meeting, which is going to be going over like things you can do to get ready for the game jam. Also some like tips and pointers and like stuff you can download, maybe. But yeah. So I was just gonna ask if anybody like has anything that maybe came to mind when I was just blabbing on up here. Like if any games that I probably should have talked about, or any mechanics. So anyways, I was gonna try to look that up quick before I goofed everything. Yeah, there's also there was that one game that came out on mobile a while ago. Or there's a lot of games that have been based on sound more recently that I think are really cool. Or like the blinking game. I forget what that one's called. Oh yeah, Super Hot. That one's interesting because it's all time based. It's based like the time speeds up based on your movement.
I think it's the same word.
I think you're right.
There's no way they took that game down.
Super Hot.
I want to get it.
But yeah, every time you complete an action in this game, it'll like speed up time. So it's like strategy. I don't know. I've tried playing it, and I'm gonna be honest, I suck. Yeah. I don't know. I can't think of the other game I was thinking of, but like it's like a 2D game, and every time you take a step, it like shoots out rays, and then you can like see the stuff around you. Yeah. It's like a puzzle game. I don't remember. Yeah. Yeah, this one's more text-based. Yeah, there's also text-based games.
Oh, Limbo Inside. That's what I was thinking.
I've played RimWorld. RimWorld's like a colony game, so you control all your little guys and you tell them to like make a colony. They build stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Huh? Stanley Parable? I don't know how to spell. Is it L-Y or E? Oh, there it is. Rock, paper, shotgun. That's great. I don't care about the editors or their rewards. Whatever.
Actually, if you have to see anything or do anything,
Were you allowed to show these on YouTube? You probably just cut them out.
well, I mean, like, are we doing this for
Well, we're not doing this for profits, that's true.
Yeah, so if we're not doing this for profit, it's fine.
Okay, then never mind.
Untitled game.
Oh, yeah. Is that an indie game?
Oh, pretty good. Search of House.
House? Yeah, this one's, it's like you just wander around and complete tasks. Among Us.
Oh, God.
Okay, that meme was cool, and then it became a meme. Or that game was cool, and then it became a meme, and then it was not cool.
I guess it's...
What? Okay, I'll look at Oh. I've seen those before. Oh, it's all on the... Whoa, okay, this is cool. So this uses text characters. It's probably just an engine that they made. I am really impressed, to be honest.
Oh, this is what that Fortnite is called.
Imagine playing Fortnite and it looks like this. Oh, that is a skull. This is so cool. How'd you find this? Dude, look at the water. It even reflects the trees. Read.
You can see the GitHub, I think. I'm pretty sure you can look at it.
Yeah, let me click on the link again.
I'll send it in Discord.
Ascii Clicker? Yeah, put it in the either the meeting chat or the game dev chat.
Oh, it's Ass Kicker, yeah.
Or Ass Kicker, yeah.
That's funny.
There's another game that kind of did something. So this game is also all ASCII, which they did it. Oh, it's really well done in my opinion. All the animations, yeah. So this is also something that they kind of like took a risk, and honestly, I think it paid off. It looks really well done. Yeah, there was a few games that came out that were all kind of like ASCII games at the same time. But I think for this they used a game engine and then they just scaled everything so it looked like it was monoscale or monospaced. Or they probably used a monospaced font, but you know. I don't know. How do I spell that?
N-O-I-T-A.
Wait, say that again.
N-O-I-T-A.
Oh yeah, I watched one of my friends play this one. Yeah, so it's like everything is fully destructible and every pixel is like a... It's all physics, yeah. So it's like the sandbox. Well, I think the sandbox was the first game to have simulated pixels, because that was just like simple box and you could just like everything was simulated in it. Now there's whole games with it. Well, you probably have dormant and you probably have active pixels. Yeah, probably how far you are, and then also like the ground, like that's not going to do anything unless you like hit it with a certain item, so it's probably like an event or something. But you could also, so Unity has, at least right now, they have the job system, and honestly if you use that, this wouldn't be that difficult as far as performance, because with the job system you could easily have like 10,000 entities on the screen at one time and no lag at all. So you could easily make something like this where it's only just a pixel.
Reminds me a lot of the sand game.
I want to add all these to my freaking wish list now. I'm so... You can?
You can go in the water too, store.
Oh, there's different like islands.
Yeah, the hell just keeps draining.
Yo, that blows my mind. The water like reflections.
I have no idea, but it's all open source. You can download it, just edit it, and mess around with it.
It could be either a shader or I don't know. They could have built a custom. My guess is they built a custom engine for this.
It used to be a lot more simple than this. It used to be just walk around with it.
Yeah, this is probably a custom engine that they made. So it's probably like all the code and stuff is in a 3D space, but then when it renders it, it just like is based on like what is supposed to be rendered, like the pixel, and then they just put text over it. Because honestly, if you removed all the text for this, it would still look pretty good. It would just be like pixelated. It is a ball.
No, it's pure. It's pure. It's not like security at all. We're just asking rotating around.
Huh. That is cool.
The right one's a question here. Every time it fills out, I'm getting even more confused.
Shoot. I fell.
Oh wait, no, this is Breath of the Wild. My bad.
Wait, is this online?
Oh, that's you. I'm watching right here. I see you.
Hey. Hey. We can play this together. That's awesome.
Did you pick up that sword?
Oh.
I don't know how to use it. I know they can fight each other. So.
What's the key
I don't
to?
know. I'm pressing everything right now.
Oh, I opened the chat.
How'd you type?
I pressed tab.
How do you submit?
You press tab again.
What? I was scared. I see NI. Oh, no.
We could have an entire meeting where everyone just plays this game.
We're all spawning in right now. Oh, Mitch, press the backslash.
Backslash? Whoa. Okay.
It's like hundreds of listeners off.
So if you press... What?
I submit this for you here.
Yeah, okay. I'd probably figure that one out. Shoot. It's so weird. It changes the camera angle. Yeah, I gotta... Okay. We gotta finish the meeting. That's a little important. Okay. Anyways, I'm just gonna conclude the meeting really quick. So, again, here's the announcements. If you missed them at the beginning, workshop next week over pathfinding. If you want to show anything off, let me know. Or even if you don't have anything to show off, let me know. And then if you want to pay dues, Casey's in the back. You can pay dues to her. All right, go forth, make games, and be awesome. Thanks for coming, everybody.